Good afternoon, Saturday afternoon, about 4:30, August 14th, 2021, episode guide, Baseball Hall of Famers. Their stats, their achievements. This series of episodes I'm doing right now, it's my 6th episode covering baseball decades. Who were the best hitters in a certain decade that I'm highlighting? Who were the best pitchers in a certain decade that I am covering? You want to know what I've done so far? If you check all my episodes, you'll get all the details. But here's a recap. 1870 to 1879. Who was the best hitter? Jim O'Rourke had 730 hits. And who was the best pitcher? Al Spalding, 252 wins. If you want to see other players that I covered in that decade, check that episode out. It's episode 269. Same with these other episodes. I go into detail of all the players who are in the Hall of Fame during that decade and their best achievement. But who came out in 1888 and 1889, that decade, that 10-year period, who came out the best hitter? Camp Hansen, 1,518 hits. And who is the best pitcher? Tim Keefe, 291 wins in 10 years. Whew. All right, 1890 to 1999, who was the best hitter? Ed Delante, 1,863 hits. Who was the best pitcher? Kid Nichols, 296 wins. All right, turn of the century, 1900 to 1909. Who was the best hitter? Hollis Wagner, 1,847 hits. Who was the best pitcher? Christy Mathewson, 236 wins. 1910 to 1919. Who was the best hitter? Ty Cobb, 1,948 hits. Who was the best pitcher? Walter Johnson, 265 wins. All right, now I'm going to cover 1920 to 1929. 10-year period. Who's the best hitter? 1920 to 1929. You want to take a guess? Roger Hornsby. How about that? He beats out Cobb, Sam Rice, Tris Speaker, and even Babe Ruth. Roger Hornsby, 2,085 hits. .1,153 RBI and his high batting average, 424. Wow, that was his highest. All right, let's go through this. Okay, what I'm going to do is check them off. So Roger Hornsby wins the decade. Cobb won the last one. It's hard for him to win 2 decades in a row. Plus, he retired in 1928. His last year, played half the season. All right, who came in second during that decade? Sam Rice, 2,010 hits. He also had 723 RBIs. His high batting average was 350. Who came in third during that decade? George Sisler, 1900. Nope, not him. Harry Heilman, 1,924 hits, 1,131 RBI, and he had a high of 403 one year. How about that? Then you got George Sisler in fourth place, 1,900 hits, 830 RBI, 420 was his high. Ooh. All right, then you got Babe Ruth, 1,873 hits during the 20s. He was more like home runs, not hits, but home runs. But he led everybody during that decade with 1,338 RBIs, and he had a high of 393. So you could see that even though Hornsby beat him in hits, Ruth beat him in RBIs. Okay. All right, I'll go down the list of all these other players. Don't have to rank them. Some of these guys had good years. Okay. Joe Seawell, 1,698 hits, 820 RBI, 353 was a high. George Kelly, 1,569 hits, 923 RBI, 324 high. Ross Youngs, 1,187 hits, 523 RBI, 351. Dave Bankoff, 1,420 hits, 434 RBI, 321. Harry Hooper, 998 hits, 385 RBI, 324. Hack Wilson, 864 hits, 604 RBI, 345. Chuck Klein just getting started, 167 hits, 179 RBI, 360. There's a lot of players that made, these are all Baseball Hall of Famers. There's a lot of players on this list. I mentioned Cobb, right? 1,478 hits during that decade. But he won the last decade. 401 average was his high, 733 RBI. Lou Gehrig enters the decade, 919 hits, 635 RBI, 374 is his high. Tris Speaker, 1,496 hits, 726 RBI, 389. Eddie Collins, 1,334 hits, 520 RBI, 372 was his high. Mickey Cochran, 693 hits, 334 RBI, 338. Frankie Frisch, 1,013 hits, 762 RBI, 348 his high. Pie Traynor, 1,567 hits, 804 RBI, 356. Charlie Gehringer, 705 hits, 290 RBI, 339. Mel Ott enters the decade, 388 hits, 251 RBI, 328. Jimmy Fox enters the decade, 372 hits, 222 RBI, 354. Paul Wainer, he becomes the decade. Wait, you see what he does in the 30s. Same with Fox and Ott. So Paul Wainer, 488 hits, 396 RBI, 380. Al Simmons, 1,169 hits, 713 RBI, 392. Bill Dickey enters the decade, 148 hits, 67 RBI, 324. Rabbit Marinville, 1,199 hits, 424 RBI, 295. Bill Terry, 861 hits, 476 RBI, 372. Frank Baker, 162 hits, 107 RBI, 294. Gabby Harnett, 630 hits, 364 RBI, 302. Ray Chalk, 578 hits, 310 RBI, 281. Joe Cronin, 221 hits, 100 RBI, 281. Zach Wheat, 1,368 hits, 612 RBI, 375. Max Carey, 1,301 hits, 432 RBI, 343. Ed Roche, 1,581 hits, 656 RBI, 352. Henny Manouche, 1,100 and 19 hits, 436 RBI, 378. Lloyd Wainer, 388 hits, 162 RBI, 355. Kiki Coiler, 1,005 hits, 493 RBI, 357. Goose Goslin, 1,436 hits, 822 RBI, 379. And last, Earl Combs, 1,025 hits, 304 RBI, 356. A lot of Hall of Famers from the 1920s. Wow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39 Hall of Famers played in the 1920s. What do you think of my list? What do you think of these Hall of Fame baseball players? What they did during the decade? How about Roger Hornsby in the 1920s? 2,085 hits. Let's see, Cobb. Where's Cobb? See, I'll tell you what Cobb did. See, Cobb, 1910, had 1,948 hits. From 1910 to 1919. Then he gets 1,478 hits, 1920s. But did you know that Cobb got 763 hits from 1900 to 1909? So Cobb is in 3 decades, 1900s, 1910s, and 1920s. And he ends up with 4,189 hits. Wait till you see what Pete Rose did. When we get to him, he'll be in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. He'll be 3 decades. So Hornsby wins the decade, followed by a close second with Sam Rice. Didn't know that. Then you got George Sisler and then Babe Ruth. All right, as far as the wins. All right, let's get to pitchers. I didn't cover the pitchers yet. 1920 to 1929. Who won the most games? Well, Walter Johnson, he took care of the last one, right? Yeah, Walter Johnson won 265 in the 1910s through 1919. And he pitched into the 1920s, won the World Series 1924. He doesn't come out on top. Same with Pete Alexander. He pitched a lot in the 1910s, 1919. So he doesn't come out on top. You know who comes out on top from 1920 to 1929? Most wins? I didn't know this. Burleigh Grimes, Hall of Fame. 190 wins, 2,793 innings. He had the most innings. 1,018 strikeouts. How about that? So Burleigh Grimes gets the nod in the 20s. Who was second? Pete Alexander, 165 wins, 2,434 innings, 659 strikeouts. Third, Herb Pennock, Hall of Fame, 163 wins, 2,310 innings, 731 strikeouts. Fourth, Wade Hoyt, 161 wins, 2,343 innings, 878 strikeouts. Who's next? Red Faber. How about that? 149 wins, 2,361 innings, 804 strikeouts. Dazzy Vance, 147 wins, 2,051 innings, 1,464 strikeouts. Then you got Jesse Haynes, forgot about him. 153 wins, 2,325 strikeouts, 2,325 innings, 742 strikeouts. Stan Koviski, 133 wins, 1,932 innings, 558 strikeouts. Then you get Walter Johnson, 120 wins, 1,821 innings, 895 strikeouts. Who else is on the list here? Lefty Grove starts pitching, but he'll be in the next decade. 87 wins, 1,253 innings, 837 strikeouts. Rube Marguard finishes up, 52 wins, 999 innings, 341 strikeouts. And some of these other guys are just starting in, like Ted Lyons, 104 wins, 1,589 innings, 342 strikeouts. Red Ruffing, 39 wins, 1,097 innings, 436 strikeouts. At last, Carl Hubble enters the decade, 28 wins, 392 innings, 143 strikeouts. All right. So if you want to know the details of all the players I've covered, you got to watch each episode. 1870 to 1879, I cover more hitters and pitchers. In the 1880s, I cover more hitters and pitchers. 1890s, you get a lot more hitters and pitchers. 1900s, you get a lot of hitters again and pitchers. 1910, I think that was the most hitters that decade, pitchers. And the 1920s, I just did the most hitters, the same amount of pitchers roughly. So watch each episode as far as the decade if you want to know what your players, some of the players that you like, what they did in the decade. So for episode 274, 1920 to 1929, who won it? I'll tell you again who won it. Roger Hornsby, 2,085 hits. And Burleigh Grimes wins the pitching award, 190 wins in the decade. Who's going to come out on top in the 1930s, 1930 through 39? Who will come out in 1940 to 49, then 50 to 59, 60 to 69, 70 to 79, 80 to 89, 90 to 99. Then I'll do 2000 to 2010. And my last episode in the series will be from 2011. 2010. It'll be 2000 to 2009. And then I'll do 2010 to 2019. Well, what will happen in that last episode, there'll be some Hall of Famers who played, but it may not be as many because you got to wait 5 years before you get into the Hall of Fame. So I'm going to be focusing on the Hall of Famers. I'll be interesting to see who wins each decade. Does Pete Rose win the 60s and 70s? He's got the most hits. Or does Henry Aaron or Stan Musial sneak in there and win the decade? Who's going to win on the pitching? Some of these 300-game winners, does Greg Maddux win a decade? He's got 355 wins. Or does Steve Carlton and Nolan Ryan? That'll be interesting. I'll do the research, and when we get there, we'll cover it. I think these episodes are going to be a little longer too, because there's a lot of Hall of Famers still to come. Who's going to win the best hitter of the 1930s? That'll be interesting, because Cobb's gone, Wagner's gone, Hornsby's done. who takes the 30s? And who takes the 30s in the pitching? Stay tuned. Thanks for watching. I'm out.